Olu 600 hours, South China Sea. The sun bleeds over the eastern horizon, painting the calm water in streaks of violet and burnt orange. The ocean heaves with a slow, rhythmic swell. On the deck of the U.S. patrol boat, the morning shift begins. Sailors move with practiced lethargy. Mops slap against wet steel. The smell of salt spray mixes with the sharp aroma of fresh coffee drifting from the mess hall vent. A young lookout leans against the railing, watching a school of flying fish break the surface. The radio chatters quietly in the background. It is quiet. Then, the horizon shifts. A shape materializes out of the morning mist, like a ghost. It is massive. A white steel hull rises high above the waterline. A jagged red stripe runs down its flank. The Chinese Coast Guard cutter tears through the water, pushing a massive bow wave. It is not altering course. It is accelerating. The lookout shouts a warning. The collision alarm screams. The sound rips through the calm air, shattering the silence. Sailors drop mops and scramble. Boots hammer against metal grates as the crew rushes to battle stations. The captain bursts onto the bridge, binoculars already pressed to his eye. The cutter looms larger, filling the viewports. It turns sharply, cutting directly across the patrol boat's bow. The weight hits them like a hammer. The U.S. boat lurches violently to port. Coffee cups slide off the chart table and smash against the bulkheads. Men grab stanchions to stay upright as the deck tilts under their feet. The hull groans as the vessel fights to right itself. The cutter swings around, flanking the smaller vessel. Its shadow swallows the patrol boat. Diesel engines roar as the Chinese vessel matches speed, crowding the American boat. They are dangerously close. Less than 50 yards separate the steel hulls. The captain barks orders to the helmsman. He demands a hard turn to starboard to break the aggressive formation. The helmsman spins the wheel frantically. The rudder bites into the water. The U.S. boat banks hard, engines whining as the props churn the sea into white foam. But the cutter mirrors the move. It stays alongside, trapping them. It is hunting. On the cutter's foredeck, a heavy mechanism rotates. A hydraulic whine cuts through the wind. The water cannon traverses. It lowers. The black muzzle points directly at the patrol boat's starboard beam. It tracks the movement of the American vessel with robotic precision. The captain grips the comms handset. He yells for the crew to brace for impact. He orders emergency flank speed. The engines scream. The boat shudders, vibrating violently as it tries to gain separation. It is too late. The cutter fires. A jet of pressurized seawater erupts from the nozzle. It crosses the gap in a blink. The stream slams into the patrol boat's lower hull with the force of a colliding locomotive. The sound is deafening. A thunderous crash of liquid against steel. The entire vessel slides sideways, pushed by the sheer kinetic energy of the water. Paint strips away instantly. The hull plates buckle inward under the colossal pressure. Water sprays over the gunwales, drenching the deck crew. They slip and slide, gasping for air as the artificial rain hammers them down. The boat lists heavily to port, the starboard rail dipping dangerously close to the sea. Inside the bridge, the warning lights on the dashboard flare red. 0608 hours. U.S. patrol boat bridge. The steel deck vibrates violently beneath the crew's boots. The roar of the water cannon against the hull drowns out the diesel engines. Water cascades over the starboard railing like a waterfall. The helmsman fights the wheel, knuckles white. The vessel groans under the relentless pressure. The angle of the list increases. The captain grips the overhead handle, shouting orders to correct the trim. Then the sound changes. The deep thrum on the hull shifts to a high-pitched scream. The water stream elevates. It walks up the side of the superstructure. It tears away the railing. It rips the navigation lights from their mountings. The captain looks up. The black muzzle of the cannon aligns perfectly with the bridge. The jet hits. A solid wall of water smashes into the reinforced glass. The impact is catastrophic. The windows do not crack. They explode. A blizzard of glass shards and plastic flies inward at bullet speed. The blast wave knocks the breath from the crew. Seawater erupts into the command center, flooding the space instantly. The captain is standing directly in the path. The torrent hits him square in the chest. It lifts him off his feet. He flies backward, airborne. His body slams against the rear steel bulkhead with a sickening crunch. He slides down the wall, limp. Blood pours from a gash on his forehead, mixing with the seawater swirling on the deck. The water pressure ravages the interior. It rips the radar consoles from their bolts. Screens shatter. Keyboards disintegrate. Sparks shower from the exposed wiring, hissing as they hit the water. Smoke fills the air, acrid and choking. The helmsman is shielded by the console, but is blinded by the spray. He shields his face as debris pelts him. The water level rises around his ankles. The boat lurches violently as the weight of the water destabilizes the bridge. The executive officer dives for cover behind the chart table. He wipes salt water from his eyes. He scans the chaos. The captain is down. The comms officer is crumpled in the corner, clutching his arm. The bridge is a wreck. The XO scrambles across the wet deck. He grabs the comms handset dangling from the console. He yells into the mic, his voice cracking over the roar of the water. He demands damage control teams to the bridge immediately. 0610 hours. Berthing compartment. The world tilts sideways. The patrol boat rolls heavily to port under the relentless hydraulic hammer of the water cannon. The angle of the deck steepens sharply. Gravity shifts. Sleeping sailors are ejected from their racks. They tumble through the air, crashing into the steel lockers on the opposite bulkhead. Bodies pile up in the narrow eye. The sound inside the hull is terrifying. The steel plating screams as the frame twists. Rivets pop with the sound of pistol shots. The impact of the water jet outside reverberates through the metal skin like a continuous explosion. A locker door bursts open. Helmets, vests, and boots spill out, sliding across the tilted floor. A heavy tool chest breaks its restraints. It skids down the deck, smashing into the legs of a stumbling sailor. He screams and collapses, clutching his knee. The lights flicker and die, plunging the compartment into darkness. The emergency red battle lanterns snap on, bathing the chaos in a bloody glow. Dust shakes loose from the overhead pipes, choking the air. A high-pressure steam line fractures near the bulkhead. White steam hisses out, scalding and loud. The chief of the boat scrambles to his feet. He grabs a handrail to haul himself up the inclined deck. He bellows over the noise. He orders everyone out. He kicks a jammed door, forcing it open against the angle of the list. Sailors scramble on hands and knees. They claw their way toward the ladder well. Blood smears the floor where men have fallen. They drag the injured sailor toward the exit. The boat lurches again, throwing them against the wall. Above them, the water cannon continues its assault. The hull plating near the waterline begins to deform. The steel bows inward. The welds groan. Water starts to seep through the stressed seams, spraying a fine mist into the berthing area. The ocean is trying to get in. 0612 hours. Command bridge. The space is a wreckage. Seawater swirls waist deep in the lower command well. It sloshes violently with every roll of the ship. Debris floats on the surface. Charts, coffee cups, a fractured headset. The air smells of ozone and burning plastic. A console sparks, sending a shower of white-hot embers hissing into the floodwater. The executive officer pushes through the churning water. He slips on the glass-covered deck, but catches himself on the railing. He reaches the helm. The helmsman is slumped over the console, dazed, blood trickling from his nose. The XO grabs the sailor by the vest and hauls him back. He shoves the man toward the medic near the hatch. The XO grips the wheel. His knuckles turn white. He spins it hard to port. The wheel turns freely. It spins loose. There is no resistance. No hydraulic bite. The rudder indicator remains frozen at 15 degrees starboard. The hydraulic lines are severed. The patrol boat drifts. Without steering, the bow falls off the wind. The vessel swings broadside to the swell. It exposes its entire flank to the attacking cutter. The U.S. boat wallows in the trough of the waves, dead in the water. Outside, the cutter closes the gap. The water cannon stream cuts off abruptly. The silence that follows is sudden and heavy. But the danger escalates. The massive white prow of the Chinese ship looms over them. It is not turning away. It is drifting closer. The shadow of the steel hull falls over the shattered bridge. The XO looks out the jagged hole where the window used to be. The steel wall of the cutter is yards away. It is coming to crush them. 06:15 hours, starboard deck. The shadow of the Chinese cutter swallows the sunlight. The massive white hull fills the sky, blocking out the horizon. It moves with terrifying inertia. The water between the two vessels churns and boils as the pressure wave compresses. The U.S. sailors on the aft deck look up. They see the rivets on the cutter's plating. They see the rust streaks on the anchor well. There is nowhere to run. Then, contact. The impact is not a sharp thud. It is a long, agonizing scream of tearing metal. The cutter sideswipes the patrol boat. The flared bow of the Chinese ship mounts the smaller vessel's gunwale. It crushes the steel railing flat. It grinds the reinforced stanchions into twisted scrap. The friction generates a shower of orange sparks that spray across the wet deck, hissing as they hit the sea. The patrol boat is shoved violently sideways. The keel lifts out of the water. The vessel rolls to a terrified 45-degree angle. Men on the deck lose their footing instantly. They slide down the abrasive non-skid surface. One sailor crashes into the capstan. Another tumbles toward the open ocean, grabbing a cleat at the last second. His legs dangle over the side, feet kicking at the white foam churning between the two crushing hulls. The grinding noise is deafening. The cutter continues its forward momentum. It drags its hull along the length of the U.S. boat. It acts like a giant steel rasp. It shreds the radar antennas. It snaps the whip antennas. It shears off the portside life raft canister. The canister explodes open, inflating uselessly against the side of the enemy ship before being dragged under the wake. Deep inside the hull, the engine room is a cacophony of disaster. The collision reverberates through the frame like a bell strike. The main diesel engines roar in protest as the props leave the water and over-rev. Then the load slams back down. The starboard shaft wobbles. The vibration shakes the floor plates loose. A steam pipe ruptures near the bulkhead. A jet of superheated white vapor hisses out, filling the compartment with blinding fog. The machinist's mate dives under the workbench. The lights blow out completely. The emergency strobes flash, illuminating the swirling steam in disjointed bursts. The hull plate near the waterline buckles inward. The steel cracks. A seam splits open. High-pressure seawater jets into the engine room. It hits the hot manifold of the number 2 engine. Steam explodes upward. The engine coughs, sputters, and dies. The RPM gauge drops to 0. The sudden silence of the starboard engine is louder than the alarms. The boat settles heavily into the water, listing deeper, wounded and drifting. 06:18 hours, command bridge. The violent shaking stops. The vessel wallows deeply in the swell, listing 15 degrees to port. The bridge is a swamp of floating debris and seawater. The collision alarm continues to blare, a rhythmic, mechanical scream. The ship's corpsman bursts through the aft hatch. He carries a heavy orange trauma bag. He spots the captain, slumped against the bulkhead. The corpsman drops to his knees. He slides across the wet steel. The captain is unconscious. His head lolls to the side. A jagged laceration splits his hairline. Blood pulses out, dark and fast. It pools on the deck, mixing with the salt water. The corpsman acts. He snaps on gloves. He rips open a packet of hemostatic gauze. He jams the pad directly into the wound. He leans his entire body weight into the pressure point. The bleeding slows to a trickle. He shouts for assistance. 2 sailors rush over. They struggle for footing on the slick, tilted deck. They help the corpsman roll the captain onto a rigid spine board. They pull the straps tight. The buckles click shut. They lift him. They maneuver the board through the narrow hatch, disappearing down the ladder well. Behind them, the damage control team arrives. They move with heavy, deliberate steps. They wear yellow, fire-retardant coveralls and helmets. They drag thick hoses and heavy portable pumps. One sailor swings a sledgehammer. He drives a wooden wedge into a split seam in the bulkhead. The wood swells, sealing the leak. Another sailor sprays expanding foam around the jagged remains of the bridge windows. The foam hardens instantly, blocking the spray. The portable pump coughs to life. It roars. A thick stream of gray bilge water pulses out of the discharge hose, arcing over the side and back into the sea. The water level on the bridge begins to drop. The executive officer stands alone at the helm. He grabs a handheld radio from his belt. The main comms are dead. He presses the talk switch. He demands a status report from engineering. Static hisses back. Then a voice cuts through. It is the chief engineer. He reports the starboard engine is destroyed. The shaft is bent. The shaft seal is leaking, but the port engine is operational. The pumps are holding the water level steady. The XO nods. He wipes a smear of oil and blood from the chart table. He looks out the shattered window. The Chinese cutter is 500 yards away. It is turning. Its bow swings around. It is lining up for another pass. 0620 hours. Aft, signal deck. The wind whips across the exposed platform. The smell of unburnt diesel fuel hangs heavy in the air. The gunner's mate grips the spade handles of the .50 caliber machine gun. He racks the charging handle back. The metallic clack-clack echoes sharply. He presses his shoulder into the stock. He aligns the iron sights on the approaching cutter's bridge windows. His finger hovers over the butterfly trigger. He shouts into his headset, demanding permission to engage. On the bridge, the executive officer hears the request. He slams his hand against the console. He screams into the radio. "Negative! Weapons tight! Do not fire!" A shot now starts a war. The cutter closes the distance. It is 300 yards out and accelerating. The massive white bow cuts a deep trench in the sea. It aims for the patrol boat's exposed midsection. It intends to break the keel. The XO grabs the throttle lever for the port engine. It is the only one left. He jams it from stop to back full emergency. The transmission engages with a mechanical thud. The propeller bites into the water. The shaft torques violently. White water churns at the stern. The single engine roars, straining against the dead weight of the flooding hull. The boat shudders. It vibrates like a tuning fork. Slowly, painfully, the bow begins to swing. The vessel pivots on its axis. It turns its reinforced prow toward the oncoming threat. The cutter does not slow down. It barrels forward. The distance collapses. 200 yards. 100. The XO braces against the binnacle. The crew on deck grabs the lifelines. The cutter sweeps past the port side. It misses a direct collision by feet. The air pressure between the hulls drops instantly, sucking the patrol boat toward the larger ship. Then the bow wave hits. A wall of displaced ocean slams into the patrol boat. The vessel rolls 40 degrees. The rail dips under the green water. Loose gear slides across the deck and splashes into the sea. The gunner's mate hangs on to the gun mount, boots sliding on the wet steel. The cutter passes. But as its stern clears the beam, the water cannon traverses again. It fires a parting shot. The high-pressure stream hammers the aft deck. It smashes into the rigid hull inflatable boat, Arheb, strapped to the cradle. The fiberglass hull of the small boat cracks. The davit arm twists. The rib is torn loose. It tumbles over the side, dragging trailing lines with it. disappearing into the churning wake. 06:25 hours. Command bridge. The roar of the engines fades to a dull idle. The only sound is the rhythmic chugging of the portable salvage pump and the slosh of bilge water against the bulkheads. The patrol boat drifts, rising and falling on the swell. Through the shattered windows, the white hull of the Chinese cutter grows smaller. It opens the range. It reaches 1,000 yards. It slows. It loiters there, watching. On the bridge, the emergency lighting circuit trips off. The main overhead fluorescents flicker, buzz, and snap on. The sudden, harsh white light reveals the devastation. The deck is a disaster zone of wet charts, broken glass, and smashed electronics. The helm console is dented inward. A fine mist of hydraulic fluid coats the ceiling. The auxiliary systems monitor glowing green. Power is stable. The executive officer leans over the chart table. His uniform is soaked black with seawater and oil. He watches the radar screen. The red blip of the cutter holds its position. It is no longer closing. The immediate attack has ceased. The communications officer crawls out from under the console. He holds up a heavy black handset. He nods. The high-frequency backup loop is active. The XO grabs the mic. He keys the switch. His voice is flat. He calls 7th Fleet Watch Officer. He declares a Tier 1 emergency. He lists the damage. Starboard engine dead. Bridge compromised. Captain critically injured. Casualties in berthing. He requests immediate air support and medical evacuation. The radio crackles. A voice from the carrier strike group, miles over the horizon, responds. Copy all. Assets are airborne. ETA 15 mics. The XO drops the handset. He steps to the shattered window frame. The wind blows through the opening, cold and sharp. He grips the jagged metal edge. He looks aft. The crew on the rear deck are standing up. They are checking their limbs. They are wringing out wet clothes. The gunner's mate unloads the .50 caliber machine gun, removing the ammo belt with shaking hands. The Chinese cutter blows its horn. One long, deep blast. It echoes across the water. Then, black smoke pours from its stack. The white ship turns north. It accelerates. It disappears into the morning haze. The XO turns back to the bridge crew. He looks at the helmsman. He points to the compass. Bring us to heading 090. One engine. Slow bell. The helmsman nods. He wipes blood from his lip. He turns the wheel. The patrol boat shudders as the single shaft bites the water. Slowly, limping, the vessel turns toward home. 07:30 hours. South China Sea. The horizon is no longer empty. The monotonous drone of the single remaining diesel engine is joined by a new sound. A low rumble. It builds quickly to a deafening roar. Two U.S. Navy FA-18 Super Hornets scream overhead. They are low, 500 feet. Afterburners lit. The sound vibrates through the chest of every sailor on the deck. The jets bank hard, their gray wings slicing the air. They establish a tight combat air patrol perimeter. The sky is now locked down. Minutes later, an MH-60 Seahawk helicopter approaches from the east. It dips its nose, flaring fast over the patrol boat's stern. The massive rotor wash whips the ocean surface into a frenzy of white spray. The side door slides open. A rescue swimmer leans out. The winch arm swings. On the deck, the crew signal. They shield their eyes from the punishing downdraft. The steel cable descends. The orange rescue basket hits the wet deck with a sharp metal clang. The corpsman and two sailors lift the captain. He is still strapped to the spine board. They slide him into the wire basket. They lock the restraints. The corpsman gives the thumbs up. The winch engages. The cable tightens. The captain lifts off the deck. He rises into the swirling air, swaying gently as he is pulled toward the helicopter belly. The crew watches him go. The executive officer stands on the shattered bridge wing. He salutes. The helicopter peels away. banking toward the carrier group over the horizon. The jets remain, circling like sharks. The patrol boat pushes forward. Black smoke puffs from its exhaust. It leaves a crooked wake in the water. It is battered. It is broken. But it is still floating.